Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name is Steve Anderson. I am your humble host. Hope you missed me. Glad to be back. The bottom line is I just needed a little bit of a break. I've been traveling a lot, and as many of you know, I got divorced at the end of last year, and I tried to outsmart the healing process. I tried to short circuit it. I tried to skip over it. And my close friends told me, hey, these things are going to happen to you. You do need to feel these things. I tried to outsmart it, and it caught up with me. But I'm getting a whole lot better, and I'm doing great. And I want to thank those of you that reached out to me to let me know that you missed the program. I am back. We are going to resume regular podcasting immediately, if not sooner. And we are a proud service of Walther Firearms with the industry's only 30-day money-back guarantee. If you get your hands on a Walther, you ain't going to want to let go of it. But if you do for some reason, and you decide to check out an inferior pistol, well, Walthers don't give you your money back. They're just going to take the gun back, you get your money back, and you can go down the road to whatever inferior firearm you choose, and you can enjoy the light strikes, you can enjoy the ADs during the decocking, you can do whatever you want, and you'll have all your Walther money back in your pocket. It will be great if that's what you choose to do. But you won't, because once you get this thing in your hand, once you experience steel gun quality without steel gun problems, you are going to love it. Also, thank you very much to CR Speed, Hunters HD Gold, the AMG-Lab.com Commanderson Timer, ShootingSportsInnovations.com, and Targets USA. I fear I might be forgetting one. Oh, and Outdoor Dynamics. Okay, obviously the World Shoot's going on right now, and I don't know if you can see my thumbs, literally blistered from refreshing Practice Score Competitor. Keeping up with all this information. If you're at the World Shoot and you have my WhatsApp or your phone number, or my phone number, that means you have my permission to message me if you need to talk about the match during the match. If we're close enough for you to have that information, please feel free to reach out. If I'm available, I will gladly speak with you about your match. Best of luck to all the shooters that are going. Let's not say luck, let's say best of process, right? Because when you go to the World Shoot, your pressure is going to change, right? And pressure can manifest or amplify very, very rapidly, right? It can change. Like you may be cool as a cucumber, and the next minute you're not quite as cool as the aforementioned cucumber. It's fine. But when you understand that the only thing pressure can do is amplify what you are thinking and feeling, you are now in control of what pressure does. You won't be able to ignore it, so please don't try. You won't be able to relax on demand, so please don't try. On the subject of relaxation, the right amount of focus provides the right amount of relaxation. So, best wishes for the World Shoot people. If you need me, I am here. I know I said I was going to go, and I apologize. My travel plans sort of fell apart at the last minute, and the travel and the lodging simply wasn't feasible this time. I'm so sorry, but I'm still here. If you have my information, please reach out or on the social media. If you're having an issue with the match, just let me know and I'll be happy to talk you through it. Okay. Also want to let you know we have some upcoming classes. Online mental management will start September 29th and go September 29, October 1st, and October 2nd. So 3 nights in a row, 2 hours per night. I believe there's 3 time slots. I think it's 1 p.m., 6 p.m., and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Those time slots should accommodate virtually any time zone. The 1 p.m. is popular outside of America, 6 p.m. is popular in America, and 9 p.m. is popular on the West Coast. And those are all Eastern Standard Times. Also have a class with Keita Bussey coming up in October in Michigan. And I'm going to be in Louisiana for an IDPA event with the mighty Patrick Parker. And Georgia is in October, and then North Carolina is also in there somewhere, maybe October, maybe November. And you can always get a free class. We are starting to look at next year. So if you want to get me at your location and get the class for free, let's start that conversation now, and I will go out and buy. So I use paper calendars. So I have to go out, and I'm not sure if they're out yet. I'll check the next time I'm in town. If they have paper calendars yet for 2026. As soon as they do, well, we could start now, but I got to get a paper calendar first. Okay, so that's very, very important. All right, so go to AndersonShooting.com, check out upcoming classes. If you need any assistance with that, just let me know and I will help you. All right, so what we're here to talk about today is this book. Okay, this was the first dry fire book ever written. And you can tell I was chubby when we took the photographs for it. I was not really too interested in having my pudgy face on there. And originally it didn't have a cover. So if you guys remember Kinko's, I would go to Kinko's at like 11 o'clock in the evening and make that day's books like on the actual copy machines. And I would coil bind them myself, and there wasn't even a cover. It was just a clear plastic sleeve with this over the top of it. And I made the first couple hundred like that, and then we finally got it a real cover. This book was written in 2003 is when the book came out. And this book was created for one reason. I was obsessed with becoming a grandmaster. Okay? I got into shooting because I was robbed at a record store I was managing. A guy came in with a K-bar and tried to kill me. After that happened, it was suggested to me that I get a gun for self-defense. At that time, I was not anti-gun, I was non-gun. I didn't know anything about it. Wasn't opposed to it, just didn't know anything about it. I was raised by a Christian music teacher, so we didn't have guns in the house. My parents weren't hunters or anything like that, so we were just non-gun. And it was a Smith & Wesson 5906. And I felt a massive responsibility to be proficient with it. Okay? So I practiced a lot. And I was shooting 200 rounds of 9mm every week, and I didn't even know what competition was. So I was already shooting 800 rounds a month. And then because I was spending so much on ammo, I decided to buy a 22 to save ammo. At that time, you could get, I think it was 500 rounds for $10, either 500 or 1,000 rounds for $9.99. I think it was 500. So now I'm shooting 700 rounds a week. Because when you buy a 22, you don't shoot less center fire, you just shoot more, right? So now I'm shooting 700 rounds a week. What is it? So it's 2,800 rounds a month. And I've never even been to a match. I don't even know what a match is. I don't even know there are matches. Okay, so one night at the indoor range, they had a bowling pin match. Now, most of my practice was at a pop can on a string at 25 yards. And that's how I did most of my shooting. And I would do that for 700 rounds of a pop can on a string at 25 yards. And then I went to a bowling match, and I saw 5 bowling pins at 21 feet. And they looked like barn doors. They were like the refrigerators on Smoke and Hope and Steel Challenge, right? So I thought, well, okay, perfect. And I had no expectations, and I came in second place at my first match. And then I realized that if I hit my first pin, I would win the match. And if I missed my first shot, I would not win the match. So my very first dry fire drill was a bowling pin. Okay? And in my basement, I just went up from low ready to the bowling pin. And I did this because the guy at the store told me something. He said, "You're pretty good, but a little bit of dry fire would help you." And those words, because I said, "Vern Walker, what is dry fire?" And he explained to me what dry fire is. Okay? And I gravitated toward it so quickly because I was a guitar player. And I did 90% of my electric guitar practice unplugged. And you could call that dry fire if you want to, but it's very similar, right? I'm training. I'm not performing, I'm training. Okay? Therefore, there's no need for an amplifier. There's a joke in there about ammunition and amplifiers. Make your own jokes. But at any rate, I got pretty good. And then he said, "Hey, if you like bowling pins, you should come to Steel Challenge." So I went and shot a couple Steel Challenge matches. And then he said, "If you like this, you should try IPSC." At that time, I think USPSA had not yet separated from IPSC, or it was just beginning to. And I said, what's that? And he goes, "Come to the range Saturday at 7:30. And I said, 7:30 a.m.? Because, coming in from rock and roll, you don't do anything at 7:30 a.m. except unload the truck and go to bed. Okay? So that became my new lifestyle. I became obsessed. And I was shooting matches, and I was doing really well. Except for my first field course. Those of you that go to your first matches, and you remember that on my very first stage, I shot every target twice, including all the no-shoots. It literally shot every target twice and every no-shoot twice. I maintain they didn't tell me. All I know is my mentor, Vern, laughed so hard that he dropped his clipboard. And this was obviously during paper scoring. Okay? Very little internet. Internet was still dial-up, no YouTube. Let's put it this way. The internet was so slow that you had to be real sure of what you wanted to see because it took a minute and a half to load. Make your own jokes, as usual. Okay, so here I am. And then one day, I get this card in the mail, and it says A-class. And I took it to my buddy Vern, and I said, what is this? He goes, oh, that's your classification. You're an A-class. I said, is that good? He goes, yeah, that's great. I said, is there anything above it? He goes, yeah, master class. I said, is there anything above master class? He goes, yeah, grandmaster, but you won't be able to do that. And I didn't have a beer, but I kind of had an imaginary beer. And I was like, hey, Vern, hold my imaginary beer. Because at that time, it was thought that grandmaster was not available to the average person, that you had to be a professional shooter. You had to be Rob Latham, Todd Jarrett, Barnhart. I'll think of his first name in a minute. Jerry Barnhart. All right. I think I already mentioned Todd Jarrett. Those were the big three. Thought it was thought you had to be those guys. And because I was a guitar player and because I put out my first album when I was 15 years old, I did not accept that limitation. Now, perhaps in a live fire environment, like if the only practice you were doing was live fire, then yeah, maybe it would be out of reach to the average person. But with dry fire, it's within the reach of anybody, right? And on the subject of all these gadgets, I'm not opposed to these gadgets. I'm not opposed to Ace VR. I'm not super opposed to the laser cartridges, although there's some downs, there's some risks there. But all you need is your own gun and a timer. That's it. That is literally all you need. And refinement repetition. So what I want to do today is go through these drills. We're going to go through the first 12 drills, and we're going to talk about how things have changed over the last 23 years, something like that. Okay, so drill number one is quite simply a draw to an acceptable sight picture at a close distance. I want you to use big target, pretty close. I'm not opposed to the reduced size targets for match mode dry fire, but I am opposed to them for, let's call it speed mode dry fire. It would be the strawberry of the Neapolitan modes of practice. Remember, we have speed mode, match mode, and accuracy mode. And these drills presume that you can draw and fire an accurate shot at 7 yards. They make that assumption. So this is not about refining 7-yard accuracy. This is about getting quicker out of the holster. And I want you to use a big target, okay? And I want you to end with the safety off, if you have one, and your finger on the trigger, okay? I don't want you to pull the trigger. And that's because we're going to be working with par times. So the par times is the second tone after the first tone that lets you know if you've completed the activity within the par time, okay? And you also, the timer doesn't need to pick up your shots. I've never understood that. Hey, this timer's so great, it picks up my shots in dry fire. We don't need that. It's just not necessary. But because shooters would rather buy things than do things, we have timers that compare. And I'm not opposed to it. If that floats your boat, fine, then your boat's in great shape. It's just not necessary. Okay? All right, so you're going to draw to an acceptable sight picture with your wrist below belt. And a couple things are important here. You want to set your shoulder with your hand on your holstered gun so that your shoulder is in that position, okay? It doesn't need to be up here or anything like that, but just put your hand on your holstered gun and feel where your shoulder is. And then as you take your hand off of the gun, leave your shoulder as close to that position as you can, okay? And then with wrist below belt, I like my support hand kind of over my pants pocket. You could bring it closer to the gun, and there's not really a downside there. I just don't know if there's a massive upside. I've been doing it for so long, it doesn't really matter. Make your own jokes. Okay, so that's a draw to an acceptable sight picture. And you're going to establish your par time. Just put whatever you think you can do it in, 1.5 seconds. 2 seconds might be a good place to start. And if you've got an acceptable sight picture before the second tone, you have beaten the par time. And then you need to reduce it. Take it from 1.5 to 1.4. Can you do that? From 1.4 to 1.3. Can you do that? And then you're just going to keep working it down, okay? Draw to an acceptable sight picture. Do not press the trigger. So this drill also has logs in it where you can record your par times. I never used them because I know my par times. So the only, this exists because I knew some people would want to put par times in there. And it's helpful. Live fire, you have to be very careful with live fire. You just have to decide how you're going to record your accuracy, okay? So because this is one shot, let's make the presumption that we're only going to record alpha hits. Okay. So if you draw and shoot an alpha, then that's your part time, and you can record the day's best, however you want to do it. Now, the comparison between dry fire and live fire is not necessary as long as they are both improving. And what I mean by that is every gun, every division is going to have a gap between live fire and dry fire, and recoil makes up that gap. Okay, PCC, the gap's very small. Open, the gap is very small. Standard or limited with major power ammo, the gap is larger. With production, the gap is it's in there somewhere. And then with carry optics, limited optics, the gap is sort of in the middle there. Okay, but that's the difference between live fire and dry fire. And you're never, outside of PCC and maybe open and or really close targets, you're never going to be as fast live as you are dry, but that's okay. That's okay. As long as they are both improving, it's fine. Okay? And the biggest change with this book is when you look at each drill, it says to do 5 this way, 5 over here, 10 over there, and 5 over there, and 5 under the baseline. I want you to ignore that and do 3 to 5 minutes at or below your current part time. Okay? If you're just doing the work on Monday afternoon just to get your dry fire done, stick with your normal part time. But periodically, you want to challenge yourself to reduce that part time. And on the sight picture drills, I call those presentation drills. Your ultimate goal is 0.6. Okay? All right. Next one is the same thing at 10 yards. And if you can get that, if you can get 30 feet from your target, that's cool. If not, don't worry a great deal about it. You could use a slightly smaller target, but don't get smaller than 1/3. Okay? Because it's my opinion that no matter how good the math is, it doesn't look the same. You can tell me, oh, if I stand 3 feet away from this playing card, it's 10. I just don't buy it. It doesn't look the same. And every shooter I have ever worked with that has been stuck at a speed plateau has used or been using small targets. Every single one. And again, for match mode, it's okay. But you're not going to get faster on tiny targets, so please don't attempt to do so. All right, drill number 3 is the same thing with the wrists above belt. And on the wrists above belt, there are a couple of things that are important. Number 1, you want your hands to be in the same place every time. I like to use my ears and my nose because they're always there, okay? And I just kind of anchor them there. And if you hit the beaver tail at all ever, all you have to do is put your elbow behind the gun. If you have your hands up here and your elbows behind the gun, you cannot hit the beaver tail. And you'll prove it to yourself because the first time you try it, you'll grab the gun at the very bottom of the grip. Okay? And you'll go, oh, Steve was right. I can't hit the beaver tail. And your race holster is infinitely adjustable if you use one. The problem is if you adjust it for a really good surrender, it's going to be weird for hands at sides. So I like holsters to be straight up and down. Okay? So number 3 is it's a 10-yard surrender index. And the part-time goal is the same. Presentation's down to 0.6. I know it says 0.8 to 0.9. You can get down to 0.6, no problem. Obviously, if you're a steel challenge shooter, you want to do more of this. USPSA, I don't know what the percentage is in classifiers of, or stages with wrist above shoulders, but you will see it. Okay? So be ready for it. All right. What's next? Yes, turn and draw, number 4. Okay. So the turn and draw, I've done numerous videos about it, and I don't think, let's see. I don't think I can show you on this one. I'll do another video if you guys want to see it. But you're going to stand in this top right of the box if you're right-handed with your feet really close together. Okay. You're going to kick out your left heel. Okay, like going severely pigeon-toed, and then you're going to take a step toward the new target as you turn around. Okay, and it's very simple. If you were to say, "Hey, Steve, come get this giant check," I'm just going to take one step. I'm going to start walking towards you. So it's really your first step toward the target that requires turning around. And I'll post another video and attach it to this because I have just the one. So there's that. That's the turn and draw. Now, I don't know why I was so obsessed with the turn and draw. I really don't. It's such a small percentage of the sport, but I think it was because the only thing we really had a standard for was the El Pres, and we thought that 4 seconds was a pretty good El Pres. And I just kind of got it in my head that this should be doable in under a second. And I'm down in my basement with my timer, and I'm just figuring stuff out. So like the first thing I figured out was that I can do it strong hand only very easily, right? I can do that very quickly, under a second right away. And then I thought, well, what do I have to do to support that? Because I don't want to shoot one-handed. So all I have to do is take one step as I turn around, and I'm going there. Okay? As long as your hips are moving during this process, you will not break the 180. However, it can look a little weird to ROs who have never seen it. I've never been DQ'd for a turn and draw, and I don't know anybody who has been DQ'd for my turn and draw. I recommend that you show the RO what you're going to do and then exaggerate it. You don't need a sub-second turn and draw for a GM run on any turn and draw classifier. I would suspect a 125 is perfectly fine for a GM run. I would suspect, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I would suspect 115 for sure. But it needs to be in your arsenal, okay? Okay, so that's turn and draw. Again, we're still not pulling the trigger. Okay, we're only drawing to that acceptable sight picture because we're defining success as an acceptable sight picture in less than a second. Okay, strong hand only. Drill number 5. So for strong hand only, you either want to start or finish with your gun hand in front. And the reason why is the more body you have behind that gun, the better you can control recoil. You don't want to use, and I think I wrote in here that I use my normal freestyle stance. My opinion on it has changed. I do know that we want the gun hand foot out in front to get more body behind the gun to help control recoil. And whether you want to camp the gun is totally up to you. This will require some live fire practice to see what that recoil looks like. If you're slightly canted, the gun will kind of do this under recoil. If you prefer straight up and down, the gun will move straight up and down. I like a slight cant to it. It's just my personal opinion. Okay? Try it both ways and make your own decision as you make your own jokes. Again, down to 0.6, not a problem. Okay? Oh, and if your holster binds up, so a lot of holsters don't like to let go at an angle, particularly race holsters. So if your holster is fighting you as you with your right foot in front, start with your feet together and then just drag your left foot back. You don't want to step forward with your right foot because that'll disrupt the sights. But you do want to wind up with your right foot forward, so drag that left foot back as gently as you can. Okay? And that's the strong hand. And weak hand only. Okay, this is a very low percentage of the sport, but if you're in a tight race with somebody in your class, okay, or you're a contender to win, and you've got a support hand only stage, that very likely could decide the match. It could. So if you're slightly better at weak hand, or your competitor's slightly better at weak hand, they get the advantage. And you don't have to do a lot of this. You just need to do it often. Make your own jokes. I'm not hearing you make your own jokes out there. So, support hand only. Let's see what I want to use to demo this. I'll use this beautiful gun. There's probably, I don't know, 200 firearms in this room. Let me check this one to make sure she's unloaded. Oh, I think this might be a 10 mil. Yep, 10 mil. Okay. Unloaded. Okay. So, some people like to grab the gun by the butt. I call this the bottom grab. Okay, and then pass it over. That can be effective. If you're going to do that, I would recommend indexing on the trigger guard so you're already there. Okay? Similar to the bottom grab would be the side swipe. The side swipe grabs the gun with the right hand, if you're right-handed, the correct hand on the other side of the gun, and then you transfer it over that way. Okay? So this would be bottom grab. This would be side swipe. Okay? There's also an optic grab that people will sometimes do. Okay, I would not recommend that. That was a little bit more popular during the days of the old school Seymour, where the open guns had that giant space station apparatus mounted to the frame. None of it's necessary. Literally all you have to do is draw the gun normally, and then as soon as the gun clears the holster, bring the thumb away. Wouldn't try to go over, I would try to come out, okay? And that makes a very, very nice place to transfer that over, okay? Now, when it's done quickly, it may appear to be a little bit of a toss. It's not a toss. If it is, it's a very controlled toss, and I'll show you. This is how quickly it can be done. Nice and slow. Okay, very easy to do. And you can hear the noise as it's being transferred. Okay, so that's how I recommend going to support hand only. But Steve, we never have that. Okay, I know of at least one. And you're right, it's incredibly rare. But if you're a defensive shooter, are you assuming you're always going to have both hands? Interesting. I hadn't considered that. Okay, we can transfer, once again, doable down to 0.6. All right, so the Bequette Reload pays homage to Matt Bequette. And what I got this drill from him, and I credited him for that. Hear that, gang? When you get a drill from somebody, credit them for it. It's the right thing to do. Okay? And if you're going to steal my 3 modes of practice, at least tell people, oh yeah, I adapted these from Anderson. Because every dry fire book on the planet, every single one, goes back to this one. I know it was the first one because if it hadn't been the first one, I would have bought the first one. I would have found it and bought it and not written this one. And the only reason I did it was because after I made Grandmaster in 9 months, people kept asking me, how did you do it? This impossible thing. And I said, oh yeah, I had dry fire 2 to 3 hours a day. Is there any other way I can do it? Maybe, but I don't know. I only know the way I did it. And it works. Promise you it works. Okay, so the Bequette Reload, and it's named after Matt Bequette, who said, hey, the most important part of the reload is getting the mag to the magwell. Because if you can do that, if you can get the tip in, you're not going to have any problems. I would say make your own jokes. I kind of made a joke. We're going to use a very unique firearm here. We're going to use a Kunin 357 Magnum 1911. Wait, I forgot to bring my Walther in here. I don't know if my roommate has a Walther laying around. He's got mostly inferior firearms. Okay, I'll just show you this way. Okay, so guns on target and safety off, probably finger on frame. Okay, and then on the start tone, hit your mag release and bring the magazine to the point of no return. And there's 3 components for a good reload. Okay, number 1, the gun and the mag have to match. Okay, call this 45 degrees. If they're mismatched, it ain't gonna work. Okay, the second ingredient is your finger needs to be high and straight on the magwell, on the magazine. That's because anything you point at or anything you look and you point at is the same. So if I look at the magwell and my finger's high and straight and I point at the magwell, guess where it's going? Okay, so this drill goes from on target, okay, beep, shift your grip, hit your mag button, and bring the mag to the point of return and stop right there. Okay, if you really want to make your own jokes, you can call this just the tip. I am above such crude humor, so I shall not. If you choose to, that's between you and the people that you make your own jokes with as you make your own jokes together. On the subject of shifting your grip, okay, number 1, extended mag releases are dumb because they tend to get hit when you don't want them hit. They tend to hit holsters on the way out. If you transfer the gun to your support hand or do something one-handed, they tend to get hit. Not awesome. I'm okay with a slightly taller mag button, but it shouldn't be any larger in a larger circle. Okay, but check it out. If I'm trying to hit this mag button without shifting my grip, look what happens to my trigger finger. Okay, it's a sympathetic movement. It wants to do what the thumb is doing. Okay, but if I shift my grip, my finger goes away from the trigger. Okay, it's faster, it's more reliable, and it is safer. So unless you have an amazing magazine release button, just shift your grip. It's so much easier. Okay, so that's the Bequette Reload. Now notice we are now to drill 8, and we have yet to pull the trigger. Haven't pulled the trigger one time. Interesting. It's almost like we're just working on gun handling. Amazing. Oh, magazines should have weighted dummy rounds. I always like to use just my normal reloads without primers in them. Obviously, no powder. People are probably making weighted dummy rounds by now, and I know there's some dry fire mags that are really cool. That's fine. Whatever. The problem is empty magazines, number 1, they aren't realistic, and number 2, an empty magazine tends to get hung up as it goes into the gun, Whereas if there's a round on there, it goes in much, much smoother. Okay. All right, so 6 reload 6 is the first time we're going to pull the trigger. So what happens here is we establish a par time for all alphas. Okay, so let's say you do this for the first time. You're going to start with an empty gun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do your full reload. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, on 3 targets. You could drop magazines if you want to, but I promise you, you will spend more time picking up magazines than you will doing the drill. I hate picking up mags, and I hate the time that it takes. Well, but how do I know mag's going to... You do whatever you want. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'm so done arguing with people. Right? The best thing about a hobby is you can do whatever the hell you want. Right? If you want to drop magazines, drop magazines. If you want to use time to pick up the shots, you do whatever you want. None of it's necessary, and I'm going to show you the way to do it. There are others, but this is the way. Okay? All right. Now, you got a choice to make. As a shooter, do you primarily need to get faster or more accurate? Both. I know. Both. Primarily, are you getting beat because of points and penalties or time? If you're getting beat because of points and penalties, you're going to want to do more match mode dry fire, which we'll cover later. This presentation makes the assumption that you're getting beat on time. So you need to get faster. Okay? And I know these are all standing still. I get it. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Okay? Remember, my stated goal, and I'm not going to apologize for it, all I cared about was making Grandmaster. That's all I cared about. And we'll address the movement piece tomorrow. Okay? So 6 reload 6, 2, 2, and 2, 4 reload 2, 2, and 2. Observed inaccuracy is not a problem within reason. Are you telling me to go out there and sling Charlies and Deltas? Yeah, I kind of am, to get faster. I kind of am. So let's say that you're at 6 seconds for all alphas. Take your par time to 5.9. What does that look like? Take your par time to 5.8. What does that look like? You can observe the accuracy, just don't judge it. And that is because negative imprints during training is the number 2 biggest problem in the sport. Okay? Negative imprints during training is the second biggest problem in the sport. Well, Steve, what's the first biggest problem? The first biggest problem in the sport is the conscious control of speed in competition. Adjusting your speed up or down with the conscious mind is the biggest problem in the sport, followed very closely by negative imprints during training. All right, so that's 6 reload 6. Now, when you're looking for time on these multiple shot drills, I want you to be strategic. Okay, I want you to be smart. So we have 6 reload 6. Let's see how many events it is. React to the start tone. 1, hand to the gun. 2, gun out of the holster. 3, support hinge on the gun. 4, disengage in applicable safeties. 5, first shot. 6. There's 6 events, and the hammer hasn't even fallen yet. Which one of those could be initiated sooner? Pick one. All of them. No. Pick one. Reaction time is the best place to start. Okay? Because when we have a superior reaction time, it tends to get a sense of urgency on everything else. Okay? So that's 6 reload 6. A good par time without a magwell is going to be 3.5 seconds. A good par time with a magwell is going to be under 3. Okay? Simple as that. The next one is the same thing, starting from surrender, wrists above shoulders. So most people are slightly faster, either wrist below belt or wrists above shoulders. You'll probably be slightly faster, wrist below belt. Most people are. They shouldn't be that different. Maybe a tenth or two. Okay. Once again, draw starting with an empty gun. 2 shots per target. Full reload. 2 shots per target. Okay. Now, speed mode dry fire simply means the time is more important than the target. If I'm trying to do this in 4 seconds, the hits do not matter, and so I can do it in 4 seconds. They just don't matter. Because my stated goal is having my human body perform these physical tasks in under 4 seconds. The hits don't matter for a short period of time. Okay? Now, once you can do it in 4 seconds, and you can do it virtually every time in 4 seconds, and that scary feeling is gone, and now it feels kind of normal, kind of boring because it's become subconscious. Okay? I hate air quotes. Why am I doing them? Let's call it an enthusiastic rabbit. We like that a little bit better. Make your own jokes. Once I can do it in 4 seconds, now I can begin to evaluate my accuracy. Okay, and they said in the beginning when I got my A card in the mail, they told me it takes 10 rounds and a million years to make master. Sorry, that's not right. That isn't correct. It takes 10 years and a million rounds to make master, and don't even consider grandmaster because you can't do it. And 9 months later, I was like, oh, I got a GM card, ha ha ha. And they said, how'd you do it? And I wrote a book. Okay, El Prez is 6 reload 6 with a turn and draw. The easiest opportunity for these after reaction time is a slightly sooner first shot, even if it's not a great one. There's also an opportunity to get the safety off sooner. A lot of folks like to wait until they've got a full presentation to click off that safety. That needs to be done as soon as you clear the holster, maybe even before you clear the holster, but certainly as you're clearing the holster. And then on the El Prez particularly, getting that first shot off sooner, even if it's not a great one, will acclimate your body to firing that first shot sooner. When I do this, I like to move the turn and draw so it's right before El Prez. That way I'm doing the turn and draw and going right into El Prez. That's just another change I've made. Again, the biggest change, and I can do this with an open gun in 3 seconds, dry fire. So that would be the ultimate El Prez goal. Once again, ignore the stated recommendations for how many different drills to do. Just do them all for 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. Number 11 is 6 reload strong. So it's going to be two shots per target, full reload, strong hand only. On your reload, you want to drag the left foot back if you're right-handed and shoot from right to left. Okay. So 2, 2, and 2 freestyle, full reload, 2, 2, and 2 right to left. I don't believe a speed mode is necessary or a good idea with the one-handed shooting. There's simply no reason for that, except the upper Jay Beal beating Eric Graffel in a strong hand only stage. But I do think we should shoot right to left, and I would speed mode the freestyle shots, and I would make sure I shoot alphas on the strong hand only. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. And before I forget, well, let's go ahead and do 6 reload week. The first of the first 12 commandments is 2, 2, and 2 freestyle, full reload, 2, 2, and 2 support hand only. Okay, left foot should already be out in front if you're a right-handed shooter. Nothing needs to change there at all. Okay, splits. Splits are literally the only thing you don't get to keep from dry fire is your splits. And because of that, I don't ever do anything to make splits realistic in dry fire. I pull the trigger as fast as I want to, as fast as I can. And that's because I am seeing what I need to see. The lack of recoil means I am seeing what I need to see. So the only change I have to make when I go to live fire is to wait a little bit for recoil to happen. That's it. That's it. So I'm shooting at the speed of sight in dry fire, which means very fast splits, and I'm shooting at the speed of sights in live fire, which means being a little bit more patient. That's it. Okay? All right, so that concludes. Let me think what else I want to tell you about refinement and repetition. Oh, grip. We'll talk about grip. So I want you to do 3 to 5 minutes of the first 12 drills every day. That's 36 to 60 minutes. Okay? And the reason I don't want you to count reps is if you count reps, it's going to take you forever. 1, oh, that one sucked. It's a negative imprint during training. Second biggest problem in the sport. Number 2, that was good. That was a great one. So that's a positive imprint. Okay? But it's very slow. If I just set my phone timer for 3 minutes and just do it over and over and over, I can get so many more reps in than if I'm trying to count the reps. I'm also less likely to judge each rep, which protects my self-image. My self-image is my opinion of myself as a shooter based on my habits and attitudes. So I'm dry firing. I enjoy dry fire. I'm doing the work. Those are good imprints. Those are good thoughts of ability for my self-image. Okay? So that's exactly what you want. Okay, now, if you have found this helpful, and if you have found my instruction style to be engaging and or entertaining, imagine what I could show you on the range. Just imagine. You're on the shooting range with me and or Keita Bussey. We've got 30 years of experience and 5 books in between us. We know what's going on. We know how to do this stuff, and we can help you. Okay? So, our last class for 2025 is going to be in October in Michigan. I've got a handful the rest of the year. Pretty busy in October. If you want to do something in November or December with just me, Keto will not be able to do that, but if you want to do something with just me in November, December, we still have time to set that up. You can get the class for free, and we can do whatever you want. We can do a match mode coaching. We can do 2-day standard. We can do 2-day advanced. We can do advanced fundamentals. I can tailor a class for your group and give them whatever they need. Okay? And I just want to remind you, the stage I just saw, the stage results. I've got 3 clients in the top 13. 3. Okay? Like, I know how to do this stuff. I've got this figured out. All right. Once again, if you've enjoyed this, please let's get together. Also, if you have not done mental management yet, you are missing a massive opportunity to transform your mental game. I post almost every day, a shooter with a mental management success story. My buddy Lotta just won his nationals. Who was the one before him? My buddy JD just won Revolver at the IDPA Nationals. Okay? Mental management. This is how you win. You could go see other people for shooting advice. Okay? I'm not suggesting there aren't great instructors out there. Okay? That's fine. But the mental game, you've got to get that under control, and nobody can teach it as well as I can. We use the right terms, we use established concepts, and we don't try to opt out of it. It's the biggest mistake you can make is saying, well, people say that's true, but I'm not going to let it apply to me. Again, mental management's gravity, gang. It is gravity. You cannot opt out of conscious, subconscious, and self-image. Lanny Basham did not invent this. He discovered it. Instead of 1 apple hitting him on the head, it was 3. Conscious, boop, subconscious, boop, self-image. And maybe there's people out there talking about it. But the interesting thing is Lanny will not disparage anybody else in the mental game. He's way too classy. But what he will say is, if you're not acknowledging conscious, subconscious, and self-image, you're dead wrong. Mic drop. What a great way to end the show. All right, gang, thanks for joining me. Again, the more good podcast ideas you send me, the more podcasts you will get. Okay, I've done this for a long time, and I'm very leery of phoning it in and or doing the same show for the 700th time. I know you keep saying, we love the same show over and over again. That's cool. And I'm beginning to believe you when you tell me that. But the best way to get a podcast out of me is to send me an idea that's new. Say, hey, talk about this, and I'll be on the camera in no time. All right, once again, thank you for tuning in. Till we meet again, be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, love you, bye, and get to work.